was crazy? That the captain came and told me that my time was up in Walpole, and I told him I wasn't going anywhere. And I was in the STG block and the gang block, and I won't mention the gangs. There was two different gangs in there. And he asked me, he says, Sanchez, your time is up. You got to pack your shit and go. I'm sorry for using the word shit. You got to pack your things and go, because that's the way they talk. I said, well, why? He said, because your time is up. I said, so? He says, you got to go. I said, I ain't going. And he pulled me to the side. He said, Sanchez, you're done with your time. I says, I ain't got nothing to do out there. I don't know the way of life. You know, it's nothing. I have nothing out there. My father is dying. My mother's dead. I don't have nobody to go to. This is all I know. I did 24 years in your system. And he felt so bad that I can see I shed a tear coming out. He said, Sanchez, please, don't make me order for them to remove you. I said, well, go ahead and do it. So while in the block, I had the gang leaders come to me. And they even cried too. They said, listen, OG, you've been here long enough. It's time for you to go home. I said, but I don't know anything out there. I don't want nothing out there. This is all I know. See, this is what I'm saying. You become a product of the system. You become so institutionalized that that's the way of life for you.
So I would imagine that that is how death is like for many of our loved ones and for many people who are not ready to go. So for a lot of you guys who know me in my personal life, you guys know around this time last year, I was burying my grandfather. And around this time last year, we laid him to rest. And this is around the time we had the funeral. Now, my grandfather died around November of last year. And I remember my grandma, she wanted us to go to the hospital. And she wanted us to sit down and talk with the doctors who were treating my grandfather at the time in the hospital that he was at. So I remember going into this conference room and speaking to the doctors with my grandma and my father, and the doctors were basically saying that my grandfather's lacerations, my grandfather's sickness, it finally was reaching its final stage, and that by their assertion, they wanted to end his life as painless as possible. And my grandma didn't want to do that, and it was a whole situation with that. So I knew that this may be the last time I ever saw my grandfather on this side of eternity. So I went to the hospital room where my grandfather was at. I went with my father. We put on these gowns and whatnot so that my grandfather wouldn't be any more sick from us. This was around COVID. COVID was still passing around pretty rapidly around this point last year. And we went into my grandfather's hospital room, and he's all hooked up on different cords, and he's hooked up on a machine that's keeping him alive, and he's having morphine put into his body. And I remember, so I go up to my grandfather and I just start talking to him. I'm talking to him as if he's still conscious, as if he's still having a conversation with me. And I'm telling my grandfather, I'm saying, Pop, you raised a good man, because for those of you guys who don't know, my grandparents pretty much raised me in my teenage years. And I said, Pop, you raised a good man. I'm fine. Grandma's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. It's all going to be fine. You can go now. It's okay. You can go now. And I'm just basically just, giving him reassurance as he's about to cross over. And I prayed for him. And I won't tell you guys what I prayed for. It's a little personal, but I prayed for him and gave him a kiss. And my sister hadn't seen my grandfather yet. And so I said, you know, your granddaughter still hasn't seen you yet. Don't go anywhere, Papa. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. And about maybe 2 or 3 days later after that, I'm going to say it was about 3 or 4 days, my grandma had called me and she had said, Wayne, your grandfather passed. Your grandfather has passed away. So I bring that up because from this guy's story about being in a natural prison, he wasn't ready to go. He wasn't ready to leave his prison. And I would compare this body, this physical body, as a prison, not in a Gnostic way, not in a way like I'm trying to say that the body is evil, but we definitely are weighed down by the burdens of this physical realm and this physical world. And when we get sick and etc., we get burdened down with the sicknesses in our physical body. And we become accustomed to it. We become accustomed to the burdens. We become accustomed to the stress. We become accustomed to paying bills. We be accustomed to waking up, working our 9 to 5s, paying our bills, paying our taxes, and dying. We become accustomed to this. And so I would imagine when it's time for a lot of people to finally cross over and start their new life in the spiritual realm, I would imagine that it's very difficult for people to move on. It's very difficult for people to let go of this physical world because this is all we've ever known. All we've ever known is flesh and blood and food and drinks and money. And this is all we've known. So I would imagine that even when most people die, they probably do not even know that they are dead. They look at their meat suit, they look at their body, and they probably don't even know what's going on because so many people are so earthly minded.
This book series, Secrets of the Bible from the East, will change your life. If you're ready to learn the secrets of the Bible, the things you wish you would have known when you first became a Christian, like how the Israelites believed the earth was flat, or how God fought a dragon in the book of Genesis, then you need to get these books. Go to the link in the bio, watch the intro video, and shop now.